morning. Welcome back to another episode of Aviation Champions. I'm your host, Miranda Gahn, co-founder of Lexero Aviation Law Firm. This morning I have the distinct pleasure to introduce you to Terry Palmer. She's an industry expert and safety consultant with an in-depth background in aviation, specifically rotary wing and helicopter. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for being on our show. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I've been working as a pilot and a safety consultant for a little over 3 decades, and mostly in the air medical field and training. Training is, I like to say training is my middle name.
Okay. And how did you, now I think when we spoke on the phone, initially you said that it was all aviation, you have experience with fixed wing, but now you're more focused on rotary wing and helicopter. Is that true?
Yes, I did start out with fixed wing, and actually I started to learn how to fly as a hobby.
Okay.
And when I've had trouble finding a good flight school, I just decided, well, maybe I just need to open a flight school.
Okay.
So I opened a flight school in Texas, and I got my ratings and started to just really fall in love with aviation. And I left there because you can't make a whole lot of money in a flight school. I left the flight school and went to work for Omniflight Helicopters, which was an air medical operator at the time. And I started to see within, especially the air medical field, that there were a lot of accidents, a lot of crashes. So I started looking at how can we fix this? How can we make this better? And, and 25 years ago, there were a lot of accidents in that field. So I started, I left Omniflight, I went to work for Flight Safety International and started working with simulators. And of course I went back into fixed wing and I was teaching Falcon 10 for a while. But my heart was in the fact that there's something we can do for helicopters and there's something we can do to make the industry safer. So I started looking at the business model for flight safety, which was insurance companies were saying that you had to train in a simulator. So I said, where are the simulators for the helicopters? And there were very few, very few. So I convinced Flight Safety, long story short, to start building more helicopter simulators. Now the market has so many people in it, and there are simulators in all different price ranges for everyone. And you can still go to Flight Safety or CAE or any of those training providers. And it's worldwide. There's Copter Safety up in Finland. There's ADAC in Germany. I mean, there's all kinds of places you can go and train or use a simulator, buy a simulator for yourself. So I'm really excited that we were able to make that difference. And it did bring the accident rate down.
Wow.
And when I started, none of the air medical operators were training in simulators unless they had a Sikorsky or a big aircraft.
Sure.
But most of them weren't. And now they all are.
Wow. That is really fantastic. What a great accomplishment. And great. I mean, really. And I would agree with you. I would think in my experience, helicopter simulators are not as common. And perhaps it's because, flying helicopters perhaps is not as common as flying fixed wing. But nevertheless, based on your expertise, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges in the industry, particularly with rotary wing?
Some of the biggest challenges right now are learning the technology, and then, of course, the airspace issues. And now, because helicopters are usually flying at low altitude, there's sharing the airspace with drones. And this has been a bit of an issue lately. And for example, if an air medical helicopter lands on a highway to pick up a patient from a car accident, and somebody decides to fly a drone around that area just out of curiosity, the helicopter cannot take off.
Okay, that's a big
problem.
problem.
So there's actually been instances where the patients had to be moved by ground even though there was a helicopter there because they couldn't figure out where the drone was coming from and they couldn't get it out of the air.
Wow.
So these are the kinds of things that we're looking at as a little bit of a challenge. The new aircraft have so much technology that learning them takes a little bit a little bit different aspect than it used to.
Okay.
And so they're spending a lot more time. But what I'm seeing is there's also a very strong reliance on that technology.
Yes.
So there's less of the basic skills flying. And that is a little bit of a concern. But I think that technology is reliable.
Right.
The aircraft are very reliable. But now we're starting to see it in some of the accidents, and I'm talking about across the rotorcraft world. We're starting to see some accidents that are going back to the old-fashioned issues, distraction, flying into, IFR instead of, remaining VFR like most of them should. Now, there are some operations that fly IFR, and that's great, but a lot of them aren't. The majority of them aren't. So, there's the distraction, there's the inadvertent IMC issue, there's technology gets confusing. They've got electronic flight pads, they've got uh, they've got other technology in the aircraft. Then they've got the cell phone, and then if it's air medical, you've got all the medical people, and they have their
Right.
cell phones, and it's just a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and I would say my experience with rotary wing is, you've got to pay attention to the aircraft. It's, uh, as my husband likes to jokingly call it, you're beating the air into submission in order to fly. So it's something you've got to pay attention to. But in your experience, I mean, it's clear you have a great understanding of rotary craft. How do we address that challenge? What do you see in the future for this industry? How do we turn the tide?
Well, the good news is that we do have lots of conferences. We have lots of simulators, and there's new ones coming online every day. And it's not like the old days where you had to go to a flight safety or a CAE facility and fly in a big level D simulator. You don't have to do that for some of the smaller aircraft. There are flight training devices that are absolutely awesome with the new technology and the visual systems. So, and they're putting them in different places. You've got operators that are actually buying them.
Oh,
Now, one of the
that's
things
great.
that I try to get them to do is if an operator is going to buy a simulator or a flight training device and put it in their facility, open it up to other operators in the area. I mean, you're not going to use it 24/7. So open it up to other operators in the area, and it helps pay for it.
Sure, that makes sense.
So that's what I try to suggest, and a lot of operators are starting to do that.
Well, that's good
It's
news.
just it's getting beyond the idea of I'm letting a competitor into my facility. Once they get beyond that and realize that for all the industry, it's all about safety,
Right.
and training is the key to safety.
Well, I can appreciate that and agree with you as well. So Terry, what's next for you? What do you have on the horizon?
Well, I'm semi-retired. So basically, I advise a few companies that are looking for help when it comes to the training side. I am the chairman of the Training and Operations Industry Advisory Council for VAI, Vertical Aviation International. I speak at Verticon, which is their main convention. I'm speaking at Vertical MRO, Vertical Magazine, one of the key magazines of the industry, also does two conferences for maintenance. And this is really new and it's really exciting because maintenance never had that before. They have their own conferences.
Aha.
So I'm speaking at Vertical MRO, which is in Irving, Texas in November. And Verticon is in March, and it's going to be in Anaheim. And we try to bring as much training in as we can so that members in these organizations can actually go there and get a lot of the training that it'd be hard for them to break away and get. We're encouraging a lot of people to put training online now so that they can get more training that way as well. And it's pilots, mechanics, and it's crew. It's all the people that are involved in the operation. One of the things I'm working on real hard right now is the fact that there are operations that are doing multiple different missions within their operation. So law enforcement might have to do a search and rescue.
Sure.
They might have to do firefighting, and then they're tactical. So when they're trained in the aircraft, in the simulator, that's great. But when are they trained to do all of these missions?
Right.
And to switch your mind from one mission to the next. So I'm working with that. I'm working with a company out of California, SRT Helicopters, advising them on how to get some of their training out to some of the organizations that are looking for that. And then I'm also working with the Tour Operators Program of Safety. Helicopter tour operators actually have an accreditation program. So there's a nonprofit called TOPS, Tour Operators Program of Safety, and they have yearly audits and work within their the operators that are members to make sure that their safety is top. I mean, you know that FAA standards are the bottom.
Yeah.
This takes them up to a safety level, and they've been around for 30 years. So I've been doing some work with them and trying to help them get the word out to the general public. You know, that look for a logo that shows safety. You know, there's accreditation in air medical. That's CAMES. I'm an advisor to their board.
Sure.
It's the Commission on Accreditation for Medical Transport Systems. Accreditation is really important because it shows that the operator is taking it to the next level and doing more than just basic safety.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity out there for people to take.
Absolutely.
And that's great to hear. Terry, how can people find you? If they want to reach out to you and have you come speak or learn or hire you as a consultant, how can they find you?
I'm writing for several magazines. I'm writing for Vertical, for Airbeat, for AirMed and Rescue. I am on LinkedIn every day, so they can find me on LinkedIn. And I also post some of my articles there, and just try to share the knowledge, because tribal knowledge is going away. The older people are retiring out of the industry, and we need to be able to share that knowledge, because there's no new causes of accidents. There's new people making the same old mistakes.
Well, that's very sage advice, and it's very true. So, Terry, it was a pleasure hosting you today. I appreciate your insights. I agree, training is key, and safety is very important. One of the things we say in the military is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And so that kind of means, like, think about what you're doing, and usually you'll have a good result. So we look forward to staying in touch with you, Terry.